All right, welcome to another episode of Solutions with Soul. This modern mystic, the Mohawk mystic, and today we're going to dive real deep in this episode. My wife, Maeve Lee, with her therapeutic skills and questioning and ability to get deep in with people, even with her Scorpio sign with the deep waters, she's going to interview me so that um, you guys can get a better idea of where I came from, my thought process, and why we're sitting here doing this show to begin with, why this modern mystic was created, and who better to do so than my lovely wife. She knows how to push the buttons too, so it's going to be real good.
Well, I mean, I do feel so honored that you've let me into your inner world.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not something you've let really anyone do.
No.
And so I remember the other day I asked you this question.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess we can start there.
All right.
Just get right in there. And that's what I do.
Let's go.
So if you need to just get there, let me know. But what? So you were living the street life.
Mm-hmm.
You were looking at 10 years in prison,
Mm-hmm.
multiple felonies, charges,
Mm-hmm.
the gamut of
Yeah.
20 years in the street life or more.
Mm-hmm.
Your
In
life
and
looks
out.
very different now.
Yes.
Very different.
Yes.
And I had asked you, what decision or what thought, what choice did you finally make in your own being to say, I'm really going to change now? Something has to change. What was that?
Um, I think when it came down to it, it had to do with love. I didn't really have a personal, real intimate connection with people. Everything was very transactional. My life had a lot to do with transactional relationships. And no matter how many friends I had, no matter what was going on, I never allowed anybody to get deep. I never allowed myself to be super vulnerable because that meant a lot of pain. That's leaving me out there to be hurt. So what was going on is I kept getting locked up, and I have a daughter that who doesn't have her birth mom, and I was in and out of her life. And what it made me realize is that I was doing the very same thing to her that happened to me. And not only to her, I have other kids that I don't talk to, that I haven't been able to have a relationship with. And it's because of, it's patterns, right? And I really didn't know how to have those relationships, to be honest. I really had no idea what it was like to have a vulnerable, deep relationship where you felt safe. And I was just so tired of feeling alone amongst a lot of people and not feeling connected, much less to myself, much less to the rest of the world,
Mm-hmm. So you were very social.
Yeah, very social.
People love you, and this is like
Yeah.
you were successful in what you were doing, regardless of
Yeah.
how anyone else could see it. But it was a successful thing for you. You were doing it.
Yeah.
And you were well known, and
Yeah.
you had accolades and resources and all
Yeah.
these things, right?
Yeah.
But there is something missing.
Yeah. There's always something missing internally, because externally, I did have a lot of friends. I could move around in many different circles, and some circles don't even know about each other. That I ran around in, and no matter where I went, just like, oh yeah, I have a great personality. I'm able to connect with people, but it was all very surface level. I just knew how to get just deep enough in them, but would never allow people to really get deep in me. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Where I can empathize and I understand, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's just, and really it was a survival tactic. Like
Mm-hmm.
ever since I was little, I had to understand where people were in order to feel safe,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of somewhat try to control the environment with my personality so that I
Mm-hmm.
felt safe.
Mm-hmm.
I understood what type of energy, and I never understood any of that really until now, until later in life, that's what I was doing, that
Mm-hmm.
my personality was really created to help me survive and move around in the world,
Mm-hmm.
but it wasn't really there for me to help me thrive and evolve and understand a deeper sense of myself.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean,
Yeah,
no.
yeah. And that's something that we now teach, right? Is that there's these ways that our identity is formed throughout our life.
Yes.
And throughout your life, you've been formed in these ways that weren't always a choice. The child doesn't make the choice, it's just kind of surviving and doing what seems to work, whether there's no good or bad in it. There's just what's working and what's not. How do I
Yeah.
keep the pressure off of me? Or how do I, you know, get left alone so I can just play and be a kid, or whatever it might have been in the environment. But you had to at some point be like, wait a second, this isn't working.
Yeah.
Like
It's
who
not
this
working.
this me is now is not functional for me anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. It served its purpose in what I was doing, but I think in a lot of people's lives, and this is something I realized, like really, because I'm adopted and whatever, I've been in from behind bars and not, it doesn't matter, in the dope game and not, none of that stuff. Those are all just roles that people play in order to, and eventually what happens is, if you want it to happen, you start evolving and you want to be conscious of what's going on, because you realize that there's something going on that is creating this life, that some parts of it seem like that they're good. You know what I mean? You're successful, you're doing
Mm-hmm.
things, but deep down inside I felt like, man, it's not really what's going on. It doesn't vibe well with me.
Mm-hmm.
In certain aspects, everybody's like, oh man, you should feel good. You living in the suburbs, you got 4 cars, you got kids, you got a
Mm-hmm.
house, you know what I mean? Like, whatever, that should have all been good for me. But then I would always go back to doing and selling dope,
Mm-hmm.
like making that feel like, I don't know, that was more freedom,
Mm-hmm.
like way to express myself. I don't know. It's like being a shark in a fish tank.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Where I felt like I was doing better than most in that lifestyle,
Mm-hmm.
but really,
It wasn't satisfying.
yeah, that wasn't
Mm-hmm.
satisfying either. So I jumped from
Mm-hmm.
one life to another life, and both of them, either way it goes, people look and be like, "Oh yeah, you're doing so well. What's the problem?"
Mm-hmm.
Because the problem was in here. Does
Mm-hmm.
that make sense? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think our soul is always communicating those things to us. It's always kind of whispering or nudging us, or sometimes it's screaming at us through different events that are just going sideways in our lives. And whether we see that as a message from our soul or not is why we do what we do, so we can
Yeah.
help people understand that those are signals
Yeah.
and messages to hear and heed.
Yeah.
So, when you were in treatment the last time,
Yeah.
there was a moment where you realized, oh, I was created this way.
Yeah.
Remember that moment? Can you
Yeah.
talk to us
Yeah.
about that?
So this is what helped, what we call the noise, right? And the noise is just all this information coming from outside of us that helps mold who we are in our personality, right? And so what I was doing, I was in this program. It was at RCCS, yeah, RCCS, and they taught what's called MRT, and it's moral reclamation therapy. And what they do is criminal thinking, right? And so what they taught in there in the first few pages is that your personality was created in order for you to manipulate the world, right? or maneuver. I like to say maneuver through the world because it's whatever, right? That's how you learn to be safe, to get the things, your needs met, and all that stuff, right?
There's
Because
no
of,
judgment on it. Manipulation kind of has a judgmental
yeah,
connotation, but there really is no judgment on it because we're all manipulating in our world if we're not conscious of why we're doing what we are doing to get our needs met. Even if it's heroic and looks good, it can still be manipulative.
Yeah,
to
100%.
people around you. But yeah. So
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And really, I remember taking Psychology 101 and saying that, reading something that said everybody, the only reason why people do things is to fulfill a need within them, right?
Yeah, there's
And
no true altruism.
no, no. And I told my mom that, and she got pissed. Like, you adopted me. What need did you fulfill inside of yourself to adopt me? And she got pissed at me for that, right? And so, but then,
So back to
yeah,
MRT.
yeah, flash forward to MRT, and it hit me because whenever I got locked up, I would read books about psychology and yourself and how to better yourself, and it hit me like, oh my God, I was programmed to be the way that I was, right? You know, I was adopted and I was raised in Fargo, North Dakota, and there wasn't very many people melanated that I was grew up with and around, and all I saw was people on TV, right? Even though my parents had adopted me, they went to college, we went to church, you know, there's none of this drug life or drinking. I saw my parents drink like maybe twice my whole being raised, right? None of that was there, right? So it's like, well, how did I jump into this life? Is because I was trying to figure out my own identity, and I was looking for instructions outside of myself on how I should be. And so then in the 80s came out, hip hop started getting big, and then 90s it was gangster rap. And I moved to Minneapolis, Minnesota, and the people that I was with, really, we were all just trying to survive. And we all listened to hip hop, and each of us went our own directions in the way that we lived life, right? And for some reason, I mean, because of doing drugs and drinking and stuff, and it numbed me out. And then all of a sudden, I got into selling dope, and that was like, it was a whole different lifestyle because everybody, you were the man. You know what I mean? So then I felt like I was good. I gave a friend of mine who was in prison money. I helped people out at the same time, you know, and then, so it made me feel good. And I was fitting this role that I was taught from, you know, from hip hop music and gangster rap. And so then I felt like a sense of identity, but to be honest with you, none of that shit was even me. And it was like, what do they call it? When you feel, it's a psychological term, cognitive dissonance. That's what I felt, really, even when I was doing it.
I mean, that's a really good thing to bring up for everyone too that's watching, is we all experience that cognitive dissonance. It's this feeling of not matching quite. It doesn't quite match up. It doesn't quite feel like, it doesn't resonate. And so when you're on your path, and you're on your right path, and you're on the path that's in alignment for you and your unique expression in this life, it will resonate
internally, right?
Yeah, it will just, the sensation will come over you of feeling like, oh, this is it.
Yeah.
And otherwise, if it doesn't feel like that, and it feels a little like in bad music that's out of tune, that's a signal to you that there's something out of alignment.
Yeah, 100%. And here's the thing, you're mentally, your brain might be like, oh my God, what are you doing? But deep down inside, and it might kick off emotions, but if you're able to center into your heart, you realize, no, this is right. But sometimes that mind is kicking off so loud, more noise. And all that is just what I realize in what you're talking about with MRT. I realized that all that noise was the hip hop music, part of that too. I have to say this part too, because I think this is important. My mom was really trying to make sure that I understand Black culture, right? And so all I learned about was like the civil rights movements and slavery and all that stuff, right? So then I had this underlying current that is them against us. You know what I mean? So it made it very easy for me to get into the criminal life and be like, well, it's them against us. They try to keep the black man down. You know what I mean? They're over there dumping drugs and killing third world countries, but they want to trip on me because I'm just trying to do what I do. Who are they to tell me how I should live my life? Even though I do have that kind of rebelliousness about institutions anyway, but it was just misplaced. And something came in to fill that void that was inside me that sent me in a direction that I didn't need to go.
So you recognized in that moment, in that class, I was programmed to be this way.
Yes.
And you've said this to me, that you were like, oh, I don't have to be a criminal.
No. I thought I was born to be one.
Yeah, which is why you kept perpetuating the cycles, because you're like, fuck it. Look at what I'm supposed to be. If this is supposed to be who I am, then I guess this is who I am. Let me go after it.
Yeah.
And whenever you would try, right, to get out of the cycle, and then it would kick back for some reason, and then you'd be like, it reinforces, see, this is just who I am.
Yeah.
I am just a criminal.
Yeah.
This is what it means to be a black man.
Yeah.
So when we try to get out of those cycles, that we call this the pendulum swing, when you try to start going in a different direction, the momentum that has already been pulling you for so long has already been built up, and it will try to keep you with it. Even entities will try to keep you contained because they are attached to you being that way as well.
And they feed off of that.
Yeah. Entities, energies, or just the people around us, not because they're bad, but because that's just their programming, and it's their
way of relating
zone.
To me or to you, you know.
So you started change. You were like, okay, I don't have to be a criminal. And it sounds like that realization freed you to start considering who you wanted to be.
Not only that, I think what really freed me, that part of it being like, I don't have to be a criminal, is being able to see that really, when it comes down to it, it's not my fault that I was at where I was to this point, because I was unaware. I was really unconscious to how human beings were made, how they're created, how they were influenced, and I was being told that this is who I was. In fact, like when you were talking, I was thinking about, you know, when I sat there and learned about the civil rights movement and slavery, and you see men being locked up and held in the books, and you see the drawings of black people being behind bars waiting to be traded in the slave trade. And then I was sitting in the bullpen in jail, and most of the people in there were black. Even though we're in Minnesota, there was only 16% of the population is black, but 90% of the people in that bullpen were black. Right. And just now it made a connection with me. Like, I was really perpetuating the very thing that I learned. And I put myself in the same situation as in those books of slavery, servitude, being behind bars.
That highlights how important it is and how we understand that words are spells.
Yeah.
And anything that we introduce to our children, like your mom thought she was doing this altruistic thing or whatever by trying to educate you, but it was like she was instilling this actual identity into you.
Isn't that
wild?
And
it was unhelpful. It actually backfired.
Yeah.
We were talking about how your mom prophesied this reality over you, which then you became, and you found yourself sitting in a cell.
Yeah, because, you know, that they even though in my formidable years, from the age, you know, from preschool to high school, I was in white America. And that's what and there was no hood activity in Fargo, North Dakota, right? So then, but all these statistics that I learned about, like, you know, before the age of 21, 1 in 5 black people will be killed or imprisoned, you know what I mean? Or in jail, whatever, will be locked up before the age of 21. All these statistics that I learned about the keeping down of the black man was all playing subconsciously in the back of my head, and me trying to figure out my identity. I identified with that.
And you wanted belonging too.
Oh, on top of that,
Yeah.
I wanted to belong so bad because I knew that I didn't really belong in this country hick, Fargo, North Dakota. I was born in Sao Paulo, Brazil, which was the 5th largest city in the world, and moved to the tundra of Fargo, North Dakota, where nobody looked like me, in a environment that was not familiar to me. And then not to mention what I went through the first 6 years of my life. You know what I mean? And so then me trying to figure this out, I really looked outside of myself for the answers of what was going on inside of me, which is pretty natural, I think, for most people. Right?
Yeah, it is. And it's also natural for when a child is experiencing so much trauma and instability, and they don't really know what up or down is because it doesn't make sense. These things don't make sense to a child, and it doesn't make sense to us adults. But the thing that they do is they start blaming themselves. Well, it must be me. It must be because of me that this thing is happening, or I'm not capable of figuring. They start internalizing it because it's easier to say there's something wrong with me than to believe that these caregivers that are supposed to love us are doing us harm.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about when you said that when you're sitting there and you realize that this personality was created for you.
Yeah.
It was almost like there's this sense of shame that just lifted. Like it freed you from the shame of being stuck in this lifestyle and this personality that wasn't yours.
And I did, because even though, in the music I listened to, whatever, society really shunned me for being what I was. That's why they locked me up. You know what I mean? And people are like, what the fuck are you doing? What the fuck are you thinking? Even though, so it's very contradictory, where, society teaches you to be that way subconsciously through the music, through the movies, through other people being like, yeah, this is what it is. Whatever, this is what it is for life, right? And then when you do get locked up, you're alone, and you know what I mean? And you're ostracized, and you have to start from the bottom every time you get out. You know what I mean? It's not like you're at the high level just getting out.
And I do want to say, for all of our white people that are listening, it's almost like that is also romanticized, like the urban life, the lifestyle that you are living as a black man or black culture. It's romanticized as like, oh wow, look what's happening. And from the white, especially suburban lifestyle or whatever, they're like, oh really? Like those shows like Locked Up or whatever.
Yeah. Or even Menace to Society. Like there's white people that are like, oh yeah, they want to be hood as hell. And really, I was the black white dude that wanted to be hood as hell. But for me, it was because they look like me. What else am I? You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're trying to understand yourself.
100%. And when the other thing I want to say about that is that eventually, if you guys ever get a chance to see They Clone Tyrone, incredible movie that really questions where do we get our culture and our society from, right? Is it really from us, or is it really from the shit that we see on TV and the music that we listen to? And I think it's both, to be honest with you. But what I realized is that when you said earlier that words are spells, and that's why you learn spelling, I realized that I didn't want to be associated with being marginalized. I didn't want to be associated with being called the label black, because there's so many different things underneath of that, that society just looked at. It's never like black and it's, the black scientist or the black governor, you know what I mean? It's never that, the banker or the president of some company. It's always hip hop or sports or thug life.
And if it is the other thing, they're always the exception. Like, oh, look at how great they are. They
Yeah.
made it through.
Yeah.
Or like, because of this circumstance, they made it through.
They made it through.
But
Yeah.
it doesn't position them as the normal,
As
the common, experience. And I always like to say, like, we will not need, or like, we have true diversity when you're not talking about it.
Yeah, 100%.
When it's not a conversation anymore.
Yeah. Of marginalization. Like, that's not any of it. Like, when it's fixed, we're not even talking about it. Sometimes I feel like because we continue to talk about it, it just perpetuates continually. What we resist persists. Like, I was always resisting trying to not be an addict, you know what I mean? And instead of being that, I'm like, man, I'm going to quit calling myself an addict. You know what I mean? A criminal, or trying to resist being a criminal. Instead of resisting being a criminal, I'm just not going to call myself a criminal. You know what I mean? And then that's when things really started changing, is when I started seeing myself in a different light. And all those labels started dropping. And I think it's important. A lot of times, when I say this type of stuff, then all of a sudden, people in the Black community are like, oh man, that's because you don't understand what it's like to be Black. Like, people don't care that I'm adopted and I have melanated skin. Like, I do understand. What I have the ability to see and understand is that I have a choice now. I didn't know before that I have a choice to be what I want to be, and I just wanted to be me. And it don't matter. Like, I don't want to be drug into anybody's idealism of who they think I should be. I don't care who the fuck they are. You know what I mean?
And that's what you're so good at now, is you help people see that in themselves. You give permission for everyone to not live by other people's perception or expectations of them. Yeah. Because it's a prison. It's a mental prison.
It's big time.
Freedom starts with unshackling the mind.
Freedom starts with unshackling the mind. And what I started realizing is that neighborhoods, communities, families, cultures, and countries, they all have this programmed. They tell you all the time, this is what it is to be American. This is what it is to be Black. This is what it is to be a Viking white supremacist motherfucker. This is what it is to be a, Latino brown power, whatever it is.
It's endless.
It's endless. And all this is just, when you really start realizing, it's just programming, layered upon programming, upon programming. Yeah, of separation.
It is a separation complex, so that if it's always me versus you, or me versus this idea, or me versus this history, then there's always this separation, and there really is only oneness.
That's it. And if we talk about unity, and we want unity in the community, then we really need to realize where our individualism happens in here. Now, in the same respect, I'm not saying that you don't have to have pride in who you are and whatever it is, where you came from. That's cool. You do whatever it is that serves you in your best interest. Just do whatever it is that serves you in your best interest. I'm not putting any culture down. I'm not saying that people shouldn't be this way or that way. But what I am saying is, be conscious of the words that you use, the ideals that you hold, the belief systems that you want to grasp onto and identify with. And is that getting you to where you want to be? This is my story about how I was in a situation that I was in that kept bringing me back to a situation that I didn't want to be in, and how I came out of that. So you don't have to agree with everything I say.
Hey, what's going on? We're going to get back to the interview right after this. If you like what you're hearing and you like the interview that's going on and you want to learn more about us, go ahead and go to thismodernmystic.com, where you can get access to courses, merchandise, and live events that we'll be at. thismodernmystic.com. We'll see you there.
Yeah, but we're looking beyond the illusion. We're looking beyond the matrix right now. We see that framework that was placed over humanity.
Like a template.
And when, even in ancient societies, there was diversity and there was not the separation.
Yeah.
There's examples of that and throughout all of history. And when we look at like what's happening now, it's just noticing where the separation is happening. Because if we actually had true, like you said, unity in our community, we would embrace each other's uniqueness and diversity.
Yeah.
We embrace that we are different in these ways, but we're not, because we're the same. We embrace like, oh yeah, you can bring your food to the potluck and I'll bring my food, like it's okay, it's celebrated.
Yeah, celebrated.
And it's welcomed, it's love. Like you said originally.
Love, and that's what got me to start shifting the direction in what I wanted to be, because really I clung out into all the separateness of who I was, of my identity, of myself in the community. And it separated me from the things that I loved, like my kids and family. That's what I wanted, was really the biggest thing that I really wanted, being from an orphanage, was to be loved, to have a family and be loved and cared for, and no matter what type of person or situation I was in, I wanted to be loved. That's it.
Every human being wants that.
Yeah.
And I'm just thankful that we get to love you.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. I appreciate it. It's the, and even to get deeper into it, like being able to be vulnerable and be able to expose those shadow sides, and by shadow I mean those aspects of ourselves that are hiding from your consciousness, that pop up when things happen, and then being able to be vulnerable enough to expose those aspects of yourself is like the reason why I've been able to grow the most, and I do mostly with you, and I have some other good friends that have helped me through that too, that I never had before. I would never even dare.
Yeah, it's when we're changing out this old identity for the new one, there's this like phase of feeling like we're alone, because we are like no longer attached to the old people we were attached to, and we haven't met the new people. But you're saying now you have the connection, you have friends who deeply care about you, who have the capacity to show up for you, who
in this way
see you for who you are as a soul, not for these different characters you're playing, or these things you're going through, or their attachments to you. And that's, before we talked about like your mom prophesying over you, and being careful of the ways that we expect the world to be for our kids or even ourselves. So it's like, what do you expect of the world to be like? And then how do you,
kids.
and I think, there's like our inner world, and then there's how we operate in the external world. And those are two very complex, it's a complex relationship.
Yeah, kind of like a dance, push and pull. It's interesting because when you talk about like as parents, and we have experienced life in a certain way, and then because of whatever experiences we have, we play out different things on our kids to help like protect them from what the world might do to them, and it's all part of our programming too, because we feel like, oh my God, I better teach them this because this is what held me down, or I better give them this because this is what I was looking for. But it's crazy because when it comes down to it, the kids are, they're their own people, and who knows how they'll relate to the information or what the world is going to do to them, and the best thing to do is just somehow pull out whatever it is inside of them, that helps them maneuver the world in their authenticity, and that's a real difficult thing to do, to be honest, especially when you're still figuring out your own authenticity,
Yeah. Yeah. That's the trick, is to do this while you're parenting.
While you're
while you're in a marriage, while life is still happening all around you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can be complex.
Yeah. It is. Yeah.
So these are all of the things that we're talking about have to do with the unconscious mind. These expectations, these projections, everything we perceive about the world and what we're seeing is a perception of who we believe we are and who we believe the world to be. And so you started questioning all of that.
Mm-hmm.
So what were some of the behaviors, what were some of the new habits that you had to adopt to become this next, like you were in this phase of transition? What were the new things you were trying to continue that transformation?
Well, what I did is I actually learned how to do acrylic pours. And when I was in the treatment center, the last program I was in doing the MRT at RCCS, I did so many pours, and I was giving pours away, and it helped, I think, with the creative aspect of my mind, right? And it's weird because I didn't know that. I know that more now, is that creativity helped me to take on new understanding and learning. And then on top of that, I listened to like Alan Watts and Sadhguru and Joe Dispenza and all these different people that had a different outlook on life. Like, it's like when you get locked up, you become like what do they call it, a jailhouse Christian or something like that. Like a lot of people find these spirituality, Christianity, whatever, and I always shied away from that. Like, man, fuck that, that's fake. Just because you're here behind bars now, you want to find Jesus, right? And so then, so I always steered away from that. But this time I was like, you know what? I'm going to try to look at my spirituality. I grew up Christian, but I never really, it never really hit me, and never really, and even Christians said, you will know that you have found God because you will feel it within, and never did with Christianity. But then when
I would like to put a caveat in here. You had a lot of like religious trauma that was not making Christianity feel like a comfortable option.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
So there's 100%. A lot of that. Maybe we could talk about another time where people, I'm sure, can relate to that, where Christianity didn't feel safe because of how people were using it against them in their own lives.
Yep. 100%. And that did happen. So then I was listening to these other, I don't know what to call it, philosophies, maybe?
Eastern traditions.
Yeah, Eastern traditions, more like a little bit of Buddhism, Zen Buddhism. And not that I'm a Buddhist or anything like that. And some of the even Hindu, all these different aspects. And what I realize is that all these religious teachings were just gateways to figuring out, and I'm using this word God just because everybody uses it, who God is to them, right? And the thing is I was really into science too, and quantum physics was getting a little bit bigger, and their understanding of consciousness, and science was talking about consciousness and how it affects the creation of the world. Like the double slit experiment. You guys can look that up, the double slit experiment. But what happened is I realized that science has finally caught up to spirituality and was able to explain from more of a scientific basis what they were meaning with spirituality, right? And something clicked. Like it's like the both hemispheres of my brain, all of a sudden were like, whoop, okay, opened up, and it helped me to realize that I am the creator of my life. In the Bible, it said that we were made in God's image, and God is the creator, right? So we are made to create, right? And then science is saying, hey, because of the way we believe or whatever, and observe the world, our observation due to what we believe, depending on who's observing it, reality shifts and changes, right? And so it was all of that paired with realizing that my personality was created by the world around me. I realized I was the creator of my own personality. you know, and that
So
I
you
could do
felt-
something different.
So you went from feeling disempowered and
Yes.
stuck in the old personality
Yeah,
to
like I
being
had no choice.
empowered
Being
to
empowered.
create
Yeah.
whoever you wanted to be.
100%.
Or which ends up being authentically who you are. Like
Yeah.
you get to discover who that is now.
Yeah.
And you said creativeness, or you became creative.
Yeah.
And you started engaging in your own creativity.
Yeah.
And because I know you were going to bring up these things that you started opening up to your intuition.
Yeah.
And seeing how things would unfold without you having to do anything about it, which is the teachings of all these Eastern and physics and manifestation, Joe Dispenza. So talk about that a little bit more, about tapping into your intuition and learning that actually you're a much more powerful being than you had thought you were.
Yeah. So before, you know, I came from this place of like, man, you gotta make it happen, you know. I had a tattoo that I got covered up and it said, just do it. Like you got to do it to make it happen. Right. And then what I started realizing when I started realizing that I'm connected into the creation of my world is that I was able to have things happen without me physically doing anything. And it was because I believed that it could happen. And I used to say at RCCS, and I used to say, man, I get what I want, right? I get what I want. And it was like one morning I woke up and I was like, man, I need some money. And we didn't work or nothing. You know, we got assistance. And I was walking to the library and there's a $50 bill floating in the water. You know, another time, my homegirl Cassie was bringing me back to the house and I was really into doing my acrylic pours. And I was like, sitting there and I was like, man, you know what'd be cool is if I could get a printer so that I can make stencils in order to make my paintings better. And then as soon as I walk into the house, 15 minutes later, a friend of mine comes down the stairs and he's like, hey man, I know you be doing that art stuff. Ed, if you're watching, I know you be doing that art, man. And my boss gave me this printer and I'm not going to use it. Do you want it? 15 minutes after I was just saying this and I couldn't believe it. So then I started being like, man, I get what I want. There was this dude that came to the program and he was wearing the same clothes for 2 weeks. And I was like, hey bro, do you need some clothes? And he's like, yeah, they keep saying they're going to give me some. I gave him half of my closet. And my roommate was like, man, what are you doing, bro? You're giving them. I was like, man, don't worry about it, man. I know I'm going to get some clothes, man. Don't even worry about it. I'm outside cleaning out the back of the yard, snow piled up, right? We're in Minnesota. Snow was piled up everywhere. And I uncovered this Coleman tub and it was full of brand new clothes. I can't even make this shit up.
Yeah, yeah. And you just had the impulse to all of a sudden like go through this pile.
Yeah, to be like, man, I should clean this house this weekend, make the house look a little better, you know, and shovel and you know what I mean? It was just these impulses to do things. And then you and I go hiking. Okay. Let's go before that.
8 months later.
Yeah, 8 months later. So I say to my homeboy, like, yeah, you know, I'm not made for marriage. I just came to the conclusion I don't think I'm supposed to be in a relationship. And then just as I'm saying that, you walk by, and I was like, but you know what? And this is just I'm not thinking about it. It's like I give her a chance though. And then months later, we connect up. And I'm sitting there like, holy shit, I cannot believe this is happening. And we're going hiking and we're sitting on a rock and kind of just flowing and exploding in life. And it was crazy because I felt like we were going through all these different dimensional things together. And I said, you know what? Remember this. I get what I want. And what I meant by that then was like, I wanted to be with her like forever, you know? And now look, we're married, doing a business together, having kids together.
And when you were a child, you imagined?
Oh, yeah. When I was a child, and this might be weird to some, I don't know if other people do this, but I had to be like 10, 11 years old. This is how bad I just wanted connection and have love unconditional. I used to fantasize about being with a girl, just laying cuddling in bed with brown hair and freckles.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and she's white too.
Mm-hmm.
That was just my fantasy. I was in Fargo, North Dakota. That's what I had. And
So
then,
we joke that he created me because I am a little bit younger. So
yeah,
we joke about that he created me and
manifested her.
manifested me
Yeah.
into reality, and I had to wait till he was a little bit older so I could be older.
Old enough to be with me, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds crazy, but yeah,
Well, it's just
kind of.
funny.
Yeah.
I mean, we have this other, it's kind of off topic, but we have these other ways that, like, there's all these synchronicities through all of my life of, like, what I could sense I wanted in my husband. And I could sense, I just call it a sensing because that's all I know it as. And I would be like, no, I know this isn't the person because it's not quite right, but there's this characteristic of all of these people I've been with or whatever. And then when I met you, it's like you had all those characteristics. Like you were like the ultimate package of like what I had sensed was true for myself, even if I hadn't logically been able to put it into words.
Yeah.
But then hindsight, I'm like, oh, this makes sense.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, when you look at all the different people, and we're gonna make a play about this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like the people that you go through until you get the right person, there's certain aspects of them you're like, oh yeah, I like that,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not right till it's right.
And I really like to tell people this, like you're almost yes is a no.
Yeah.
Because it could have compromised myself on, several people because I would like, oh, this is good enough, or this is pretty good. This is about what I want. But then I would have never gotten to you, and I would have never had what I really want, and what really satisfies me. Because the thing is, I could never stay with those people. People would be like, oh, you have commitment issues. You can't stay with people, and I'm like, actually, it's just not the right person.
Just not the right person.
And we have been through so much.
Yeah.
And alchemized so much because we are with the right person.
With the right person, because otherwise, man, quick to bounce. You can ask past relationships, quick to bounce, and those people, like some of those people, they in themselves, there was nothing wrong with them.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And they had their shit together. You know what I mean? They had good families that they were a part of and everything, and it was just not the right. It's crazy how the world works like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then that also brings up what I would like to talk about is like frequency. Not really talk about, but frequency and our ability to understand like the frequency that we're putting out. And when we adopt belief systems and when we adopt belief systems and we listen to the outside world and we're contracting into being like, oh yeah, that's me. This is me. Yes, I identify with this. All those things carry a certain type of frequency that then puts you at a certain level in life.
Yep. And your ideas, your attachments, like, for me, because of my family history, mothering has a heavy weight to it, I think. And so then I've had to work through that heavy weight to the idea of mothering our children. And even just marriage, like neither one of us came from a place where we had successful marriages or successful relationships to look from or to be imprinted by,
modeled by.
And so now we have to alchemize all of that. And it's this frequency though. It's like, like you're saying, it's this like energetic resonance. And I'm going to switch now back to, because when we met, when we finally came together, I had just been off on my own because I was not in, like a few months before that, I wasn't in a great place in my life. And I was like, I quit my job. I sold my house. I went traveling. I was like, I need to go choose myself and I need to do, and I love being a gypsy and I love traveling and I just feel like myself and feel so free. And I was tapped into my creativity, writing all the time and traveling, and being with my daughter and my dog and whatever. And it was then that you and I met. And you were in the same place, very free, very
creative.
Yeah.
taking care of myself, not worried about what other people thought about what I was doing.
Mm-hmm. And I also was in that place, not thinking about everyone's opinion about what I was doing. I wasn't doing the right thing to make everyone else happy or comfortable.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is what brought us together.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't looking for you.
No.
I wasn't on a dating app. I wasn't, like, there was nothing I wasn't doing anything to even think consciously, like, I'm going to manifest my partner right now.
Yeah, me neither. In fact, I thought that I wasn't meant for it.
Yeah. But we were in the right frequency to allow it to come through.
Yeah.
Which is the ultimate teaching.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. So all of those alternative teachings or the holistic perspectives that we also teach now are that embodying your own creativity, embodying your authentic life, embodying what you want to see your world to look like. And that's what starts shifting things and shifting the matrix around you, and which requires the inner work.
Yeah.
So we named the rid wave.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, we can talk about that. So what we did is with her own studies in holisticness, and then also being, going to school to be a therapist, we were able to, both of us, combine our knowledge in helping to create what we call the science of spirituality and the rid wave. And the rid wave is what's really important, and it's actually very simple.
Super simple.
Super simple. Executing it is just is the part. You just got to execute it, right? And so what we realize is, first, whenever you come up on a environment or situation, right, the first thing you have to do is you have to recognize what's going on inside of you, right? You're driving along, you get pulled over, and recognize what's going on inside of myself, right? And then all of a sudden, the stories that I'm telling myself, right? And that's identifying the stories I'm telling about myself, why I'm being pulled over. Oh man, because I'm black, and and being angry off the top just because I'm being pulled over because of the stories that I'm saying, right? And then after that, because I would recognize that I'm feeling all agitated, I identify the stories that are going through my head. I get to decide whether or not I'm going to be different this time, and not listen to the stories and be like, well, I was speeding.
Okay.
I was doing this thing, or recognize, there's so many different ways that you can implement it, but first you got to just recognize the physical sensations that are going on in your body. Identify the stories that you tell, and then you make a decision. And what that plays in, right, is what we call the science of spirituality, where we have the three pillars, where it's mind, body, and soul. Right? The body is what has the feelings. The mind is the story that we tell. And the soul is the energy that we put out into the world. Right?
Yeah.
Just to make it super simple.
Yeah. And just knowing, like, you are free from these emotions. Like, your emotion is really just your own perception of what you're experiencing. So, like, the way that we are we're in relationship to everything. So the way that we relate to ourselves, our inner world, how we think about ourselves when we experience something, how we treat ourselves, how we think about ourselves, how we decide to operate, those are all inner experiences. And then how we perceive what's happening. So, like, if you come home, right, and you, like, don't look at me, or, you could have, maybe aren't as friendly as you usually would have been. I could go 1,000 ways with that, right?
Oh, yeah.
So,
this is a good one.
So this is about, like, then I start feeling a certain way. Oh, if I perceive that you're mad at me, I could be like, oh, I could start feeling anxious. I could start going into abandonment wounds. I could start all of these things, this rabbit hole, right? Or I could think, maybe he's had a long day. And I could say, maybe I'm going to offer him a drink, a nice cold drink right away. Or I could offer him a snack. Like, what can I do? You want me to rub your feet? I don't know.
Yeah.
There's I could be helpful.
Yeah.
And those two scenarios are drastically different.
Yeah.
And we create the reality because of our perception.
Yeah.
Because of how we perceived what was happening, then made us feel a certain way.
Yeah.
So feelings and emotions are not like this thing that you're out. It is within your control. It is not outside of your control how you feel. A lot of people are like, well, I did that because I felt this way.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's probably not the right thing.
But you are now building mastery by studying with us, looking at our guide. That's what it does. The 120 pages of the most condensed, quickest way through all of this. We teach you the rid wave. We teach you all of these little shortcuts that are really the summary of all this ancient wisdom that's also now backed up with science, that gets you to the point, gets you to the self-reflection and the inner wisdom, the inner diplomacy, so that you can then operate out in the world the way that you want to in order to master whatever you're trying to do in your life. And this requires inner mastery. When you were on the beginning of your journey, you had to decide, I need to open myself up to something else. I have to consider that what I'm doing isn't correct or isn't helping me. That's this open-mindedness, this expansiveness that you welcomed into your life.
Yeah.
And you started just trying things out.
Yeah.
Unattached, and you just started seeing where the results were coming in, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so this isn't just some stuff that we created, it's really like we reverse engineered what worked.
But
we already went through the steps and seen and did, and it's so it's not like something that we're practicing on people. It's stuff that worked for us.
But it's also backed by all of those ancient technologies, all of these Eastern philosophies, all of psychology, and not
modern science too.
And modern science, physics. Physics is proving this stuff is true and real. And so it's not like it's not just something we made up. It's just the quickest summarization we can give you in order for you to become the master of your own life in this transformation and understand how human beings go through change. Because that's what you need. You don't need to become, a self-help guru or go to school for psychology. You just need to understand how to implement change in your life. And then you'll start seeing the results.
Yeah.
Well, thank you
for
sharing your experiences with it, though. It's very, there are a lot of things in there that you were willing to admit, and I'm just thankful because it does showcase what's happening, but also it took a lot of courage for you to share some of it.
Yeah. Yep, I'm being vulnerable with you guys too, in some ways.
You used to not even be able to say that word.
Yeah.
Wait, no, don't tell people. That's not, no.
I'm not trying to be vulnerable. It's not safe. But yeah. Well, thank you guys for joining us. I hope this was very informative, and please take advantage of the guide that we have if this resonated with you, is something that you feel help you out. And we hope to have more conversations. Not hope, we're going to have more conversations with Maeve and I. And it's going to be also listed on our channel, This Modern Mystic, outside of my own podcast, so that I think we need to share more about what we're doing and how we're operating. And I think a lot of people like it, honestly. I do.
He looks surprised, but he shouldn't be surprised because he is the modern mystic. Like, he does tarot, and so many people come back to you and are like, you changed my life.
Yeah. I know people I don't recognize. I used to work at Trader Joe's in Oregon, which I miss. I miss you guys so much. But people would come up to me in the line and be like, hey, I know you don't recognize me, but last year you did my tarot. And I'm like, what?
They've
Obviously,
made some serious life changes. Bought a
yeah,
house,
bought
moved
houses,
away,
moved,
broke up with their people, got
and
into a new relationship that was more satisfying.
moved to a different country,
Wow.
and we're back on a visitation, and had to tell me what's up. Yeah, yeah, it's wild
Pretty cool.
stuff. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But
Okay. Well, thank you again for being with us here. You're joining a family of mystics. We're all mystics. It's just reattuning to that inner wisdom and intuition.
and see you next time on Solutions with Soul.